Because there was one of the students.
Gina, we ready?
I'm good.
Okay. Board members, you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but man, never heard.
No, not here. Thank you, everyone, for showing up tonight. I appreciate the enthusiasm. I wish we had these many people at all our board meetings, but I got a feeling there's something specific on your mind. We'll get to that. I'm sure you will hear from us on what you want to talk about. And there's also 2 opportunities in the meeting tonight to hear what you'd like to say. I will try. Yes. Is this better? Okay.
Back it up.
I would appreciate if everybody would try and be quiet too so you can hear us. I know there's a lot of people here and there's a lot of side conversations going on, which is to be expected. But keep in mind, this is a meeting that we need to hold too. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and start our open session. It's 7:48 on Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. This is the Warren Township High School District 121 School Board meeting. I'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you don't mind standing up. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yo.
First up is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes to our agenda?
I have one change, John, Paul, I'm sorry. Can we take the minutes and pull them out of the consent agenda, please?
Gene, can we do that? Anything else?
Nope.
If not, I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz, second by Anderson. Mr. Drake,
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez,
Yes.
Mrs. Blair,
Yes.
Mr. DeMonte,
Yes.
Mrs. Beals,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Next up is recognitions. I understand we got some recognitions tonight.
I think Ms. Belmont's going to step forward and recognize a group of students that we honored a week or so ago.
Good evening, everyone. On December 15th and February 2nd, we had our second and third National Letter of Intent signing days for the 21-22 school year. On December 15th, we recognized 2 athletes, Christian and Aiden. And on February 2nd, we recognized 11 more. I'm just going to kind of go through them here as I read. A little over 7% of all high school athletes in the United States play in the college level. We're very excited for all of them as they have made the commitment to play in college and ready for the next level. As I go through these, you see that all of them really work hard. They're going to great institutions. And there's a couple there that I do want to point out specifically. One is this one, Chloe Yoder. She's going to be a triathlete. Triathlon is a NCAA sport, but it is not an IHSA sport. So at Warren, she competed in cross country and swimming both fall seasons at the same time to help her train to become an NCAA collegiate triathlete. Next is Adriana Demos. She's a wrestler. She's going to Albion College. Girls wrestling is a newer sport in NCAA, and actually this year, for the first time in IHSA history, they're offering state finals in girls wrestling. And she actually competes Saturday in IHSA sectional for the first time in school in state history. I'm very proud of all these athletes, and I'm very thankful for all the coaches as well, for all the time and commitment that they give to help these athletes and all of our athletes compete and become the best they can be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's some more recognitions.
That's all for this evening for recognitions. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Schultz.
Thank you. Next up is the reception of visitors. So This is a time when the public is welcome to address the board. Each person is allowed 3 minutes. Please keep in mind this is an opportunity to address the board. It's not a dialogue or a conversation, but whatever you have to say, we're very interested and want to hear what you have to say. So we've got a bunch of people here who have signed up already. Just because you're not on the list does not mean you don't get a chance to address the board. So I'll just go through the list and call off your name. If I mispronounced your name, I apologize in advance. First up is Ambrose, thank you, sorry about that. Go ahead up to the podium, just introduce yourself, and the clock is yours.
This isn't intimidating. My name's Amber Ambrose. I have a sophomore here at the high school, the other one. I'm not standing in front of you guys tonight to bash the people who choose to stay masked. That is your choice. You're right, and I respect that. I do want to ask where the rights are of the others that are being forced against their will to mask. Can anybody answer that? On Monday, February 7th, my daughter chose to stand up for what she believes in and unmasked. I received a text from her at 10:10 telling me that she was in the dean's office and that she was scared. At 10:44, I received a call from her dean who told me that my daughter if she didn't put her mask on, that she would have to be sent home. I told her that the mandate had expired in his new order, that he wasn't public knowledge until later in the day. It was also deemed illegal, yet you sent my child home. I would like to refer to the Illinois General Assembly website, 105 ILCS 522-12, from Chapter 122, Paragraph 22 through 12. Section 22 through 12, preventing or interfering with a child's attendance at school. Whoever by threat, menace, or intimidate prevents any child entitled to attend public or non-public school in the state from attending such school or interferes with any such attendance at that school shall be guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. Yet you sent my child home. Today, my daughter stood her grounds again and fought for what she believed in, but today was different. She had a choice. 1, go back to class masked. 2, go to the auditorium unmasked and do your work. Or 3, go home. Thank you to her chemistry teacher for bringing her tests today and making her feel like she belonged to the school. Two of our neighboring schools also this week, Beach Park and Carmel, as of today, who are not part of the lawsuit, who you guys seem to be bringing that into play all the time, are now mask optional. So Warren Board, I'm asking you, when will you stand up for our children? When will you be the change we need? The time is now. Please unmask our children, or at least give them that option.
Thank you very much for your comments. They're appreciated. Next up is Sophia Gonzalez.
Hi, I'm Sophia Gonzalez, and I have 2 children that attend Warren. I know many are here tonight to speak out against the fact that Warren has chosen to defy the temporary restraining order that was issued on Friday, February 4th by Judge Grishel. While some aspects may have been unclear to many districts, what was clear were the footnotes that explain the implications that go beyond those families named in the lawsuit. The court ruled that IDPH and ISB's emergency rules were void. And that is why over 200 Illinois school districts are following the clear order to go mask optional and to not quarantine close contacts unless they are actually sick with COVID. Or they would have to provide due process to every student that unmasks. 200, but not named Warren? Why can't our families decide what is best for our students? Vaccines have been out long enough for teachers. They can stop worrying, stop blaming our children. This fear has to stop. Even with the mask mandate lifted, many students would still come to school masked because they're genuinely afraid. Masks are doing more harm now than good. What about depression? The increased in suicide rate, anxiety, social regression, aggression, slowed academic growth. Do any of those teen issues matter to the administration at Warren? Is that why the students won't have a choice to take finals this semester? In fact, I've come to realize that the very school that I had been fighting so hard for the upcoming referendum is not fighting at all or looking out for all the students in this district. I do not know any caring, empathetic teacher or administrator who would approve of having prom for our seniors and juniors at a location that not every single one of them can attend. Many families have chosen to have their healthy sons not get vaccinated, fully vaccinated and boosted due to the much higher now known chance of getting myocarditis, or rather than being hospitalized or dying from COVID. Nearby Lake Forest High School not only announced that they would be mask optional according to the TRO, but they also just announced that their prom would be on the front lawn so that they can, quote, host a more relaxed, inclusive, and truly exceptional event for all Lake Forest High School juniors and seniors, end quote. While simultaneously promoting the Warren way, Warren continues to segregate and treat many students with disrespect, asking teachers to police the fact that they're not wearing masks is really absurd, and it really doesn't do anything for that parent-teacher relationship that I know we're so trying hard to build. As a teacher myself, I am proud that my district's attorneys helped them to make the right choice to follow the TRO and to stress to us that we should respect all choices in the matter, to not personally become involved, and to show empathy to all the students, irregardless of their family choice to wear masks or not. And you know what? Because our school recommended that the masks still be worn for a while, most of the kids came to school wearing them anyways. But what a difference in leadership. It's not too late for Warren to make a change and do what's right. I really do want to continue to fight for all the students in the township. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for your comments. Sophia Gonzalez.
Hi, my name is Sophia Gonzalez, and I'm a freshman here at Warren, and I would just like to talk about how we were feeling from a student standpoint. I mean, I still remember the day that they told us we wouldn't be coming back for a week, and we all thought it would be fun. Then a week turned into a month and turned into a year, and it wasn't fun. I never really got to get a normal middle school experience. I was really excited to start high school and get to meet so many new people. But I would like to inform you guys just how hard it is to interact with new people. For a start, when talking to a group of new people, I can't even tell who's talking. I don't even know what the person I'm talking to looks like. There's no way I'd be able to recognize them off the street. To me, a smile changes my whole day, and I don't even get to see anyone smile at all. That's hard. I don't even know how somebody is reacting when we're in a conversation, not to mention the amount of people who are experiencing major anxiety. I had my fair share with anxiety when I was younger, and right when it was starting to get better, all of this happened. I'm sure you can tell how that plays out. And by making us wear masks isn't helping. But in case you're unaware of the feeling of anxiety going through your body, I wrote a poem to help you get a glimpse of just exactly what we're going through. It's called Deep Breaths. Deep breath in, deep breath out. My heart racing, my mind pacing, my eyes get weighed down with water that I tried to hold back and not even show the slightest crack. I find my thumb rubbing against my palm as I try to keep myself calm. My breathing starts to get off track as I search for myself to come back. Deep breath in, deep breath out. That's what people are all about. As they tell me this, I feel myself start to fall out. Can my heart be any louder? Shh, they're going to hear. I try to stay quiet as I shed one single tear. My head gets heavy and starts to spin out of control as my mind goes down this toll. Deep breath in, deep breath out. I feel my foot shaking, and soon it goes through to my legs and all the way through to my hands, and I try to understand why is this happening again. Someone please give this wreck a pen. My thumb is shaking, and they all think I'm faking, and this is a peek into my life with anxiety with this very society, and once again they tell me deep breath in, deep breath out. But yeah, I still can't even breathe.
Thank you so much for that poem. Next up is it Morgan Geis?
Hello, I'm Morgan Heiss, and I'm a freshman. Huh? What? One more time? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. This is the struggle that every single person in our schools and workplaces have when we force ourselves to wear these masks. Masks, muzzles, bacteria-infested fabric scrubbed on our faces all day. Things that make my perfect hearing seem as though I need a hearing aid just to find the answer to a question I asked. I don't get it. What good does it do if the schools and jobs 10 minutes away from us don't require them? What good does it do if they're scientifically proven by the CDC themselves that they don't work? Why are we, children, students, generations of our future, forced to jeopardize our education just because of a virus that doesn't even affect kids our age? We have done our job protecting society for 2 years. Now it's our time to protect our well-being. Our education has been affected immensely and makes schools less of a place to learn and socialize because we cannot hear or recognize anyone. As a freshman, I hoped to meet more people and make relationships with lifelong friends. However, because of masks, I am unable to make that bond. Not only that, I am an athlete and play lacrosse and cheer, sports of communication. I can't even yell to my teammate to block a girl because all she hears is my muffled voice. Not to mention working out in general. Not just practice, but any kind of physical classes. It is ridiculous you think it's okay for kids to work out in gym with a mask on. With busing, school, and extracurriculars, there are many days that require me to be in a mask for 12 hours straight. A nasty, itchy, sweat-filled mask for my entire day. It has been 697 days since I have not worn a mask at school. If you know what's best for your students, you should follow the law of mask optional. That way we can get back to the main and most important part of school, learning. Thank you.
Very much. Kim?
Yeah, bad timing.
They set the bar pretty high.
They did. Okay, I'm Kim Heiss. I'm a parent of 2 current Warden students, as you've just met one of them, a senior and a freshman, and I'm here today to fight for their legal rights and freedoms. The requirements for masking and quarantine without due process has been proven to be illegal. So far, over 200 Illinois school districts have moved to mask optional, and that number continues to grow. Illinois is only one of 9 states with mask mandates. How is it possible that surrounding states have no restrictions? How is it possible that Wisconsin schools 10 minutes away never missed in-person learning and never mandated masks? How is it possible that schools all over the country are allowing students and teachers the choice to mask or not, and there is no significant difference in COVID numbers? Is COVID somehow more dangerous in Illinois schools than everywhere else in the country? Obviously, that's not the case. 41 other states have made it work for the past 2 years without masking and quarantining healthy kids. Sadly, we have known plenty of kids hospitalized over the past 2 years, but not due to COVID, but due to depression, anxiety, and mental health reasons. For the past 2 years, kids have been asked to protect the health and well-being of adults, but no adults are protecting the health and well-being of these kids. Being forced to wear masks is obviously a nuisance, but more importantly, kids are suffering in classes where they can't hear their teachers or fellow students. Relationships are suffering since kids can no longer communicate with others. Friendships are struggling to form. Kids are unable to share smiles and show support for those who may need it. Not to mention the health problems the masks themselves are causing. Masks simply cause more harm than good. Kids' social development and mental health is suffering because we're worried about them getting a virus with a 99.98 recovery rate. It's time Warren makes the right decision to give students the choice and end the illegal mask mandate and exclusion quarantines. It all needs to stop now.
It is time for us to teach our kids that freedom and choice is what this country is about, and that discrimination will not be tolerated. The choice of what's best for each student is up to them and their families. Anyone who chooses to still wear a mask is more than welcome to do so. The choice is what matters. In addition, Warren needs to come up with a plan B for prom. It is absolutely unacceptable for Warren to select a prom location restricting unvaccinated students from attending this milestone event, especially after Turnabout was canceled with no efforts at all to make something work. It is Warren's responsibility to work with the prom venue to ensure that all students are welcomed regardless of vaccination status. As you will read, Hinsdale High School made this happen for their prom in Chicago. Step up, Warren. Do not choose to exclude. It's the Warren way. I want to end this by saying that we greatly appreciate the amazing education that our 3 kids have received at Warren. I am also a Warren alumni. This place means everything to our family. We're working with many other families to help the referendum pass and ensure that our kids will not be restricted from any future activities or educational opportunities. However, if students are no longer put first by this district, I can assure you the referendum doesn't stand a chance, and that is horrifying for all of us in this room. It's time to make decisions for the kids, or there'll be nothing left. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next up is Veronica Kretz.
Thanks, guys. It's really hard to follow up with you guys, so I'm going to do my best here, and I'll try to keep it a little bit brief. I'm Veronica Kretz. I have 2 children. One graduated 2 years ago in 2020, and I have one that is a junior this year. I am here to request that the masks be mask optional for the students. I'm urging the board and administration to request that the mask mandate be lifted at Warren, regardless of what the lawsuit does or does not state, or who is not included. Is really immaterial. Our children's mental health and well-being are most important. I respect anyone that chooses to still wear a mask. However, what the decision makers have done over the past 2 years over the mandates have only grown children to have beliefs of fear, disdain, and mistrust with administration. In looking at what the Warren way is, I came across a belief that the school will provide an inviting learning environment that are both safe and secure. While you might believe the environment is safe and secure, it is not inviting. When you can't see a child's face, when you can't see a teacher's look of approval, it is not inviting. It is anything but that. Another belief that I found is that we unleash the power of our inclusive and diverse culture. This is not happening when you exclude, segregate, and discriminate children from taking part in activities, school day experiences, and everything else that's part of the school because of a parent's right to choose if a child is vaccinated or not. I also want to state that in the past 2 years, that it has been very challenging for all. Our children are the ones that are suffering the most. Their mental health is something to be very mindful of in general, and especially with respect to school activities. I have brought both my children up to be respectful, to be rule followers, and to be leaders, to think for themselves, to be a voice for those who don't have one. And instead today, I tell them to keep your mouth shut, duck and cover, and do what you need to get done, and don't get in trouble. Our students today are growing up in a society of mistrust, disdain, feeling discriminated and excluded from friends and peers. And none of this is coming from their upbringing of their parents. It's coming from the decisions by the school to mandate rules from government officials that are not in the trenches all day, each and every day. They are making decisions based on their theories that may or may not work. Lastly, I want to add that as a society, we need to be careful of what we allow our government to toss our way and what we accept. Our freedoms are slowly being taken away, little things that some might say don't matter. And I caution, because this is the exact way that governments take over. I remember stories from my father, who grew up in communist Hungary, and what he said is coming true. Everything is little bit by little bit, ruling by fear. And that is not what this America stands for. And that is not what I know Warren to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Next up is Mercedes.
Hello, I'm Mercedes Shackelford. I have twin boys here at Warren, Kaylin and Caleb. Hello and good evening. I come before you tonight to address the board regarding Warren's rules for the upcoming prom in May. From my understanding, all students must be vaccinated in order to attend the prom. After it was brought to my attention that the convention center is being held in Cook County, I could see why Warren felt inclined to follow the mandate. And I also thought that perhaps you had a contract with the center that was put in place before January 3rd. As much as I can respect that, I also expected Warren would in fact try harder to include all students to attend this important high school event. Perhaps we can think about this for 1 minute. You can enter the convention center without proof of vaccination, but you were banned from eating or drinking while present. Can anyone explain to me how viruses know if we are vaccinated while consuming our meal and drinking our beverage? I will no longer take we are just following the guidelines. I will no longer take we are just following the mandates. I will no longer take I am just following orders. We all know that sentence has been spoken before in history. I do not need to elaborate. The bottom line is this. This is segregation. I looked up the definition of segregation, and it states, and I quote, segregation is a separation of an individual or a group of individuals from a larger group, often taken to connote a condition of inequality. Warren would not discriminate, nor does Warren segregate. Warren promotes equality and acceptance of all students, regardless of what the student chooses to put in their bodies. I stand for all Warren students, regardless of vaccination status. Warren needs to either fight this ridiculous requirement or find another venue. Hinsdale High School did just that for their students. They negotiated with the Field Museum to make an exception so all students may attend. I expect Warren to do the same. Do the right thing for your children, for our children, and the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Kathy Williams.
Hi, I'm Kathy Williams. I have a senior here. March 2020, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. February 2022, and here we are. I saw this quote last month, and it's been kicking around in my head since then. For the past 2 years, Americans have accepted more harm to our children in exchange for less harm to adults. Our kids have carried the burden of protecting adults and the vulnerable. They have sacrificed enough already. They will struggle with long-term effects that we've yet to even see. Gratitude for what they were asked to do now needs to be shown by giving our kids the option to mask or not. It is time for a choice. I'm also curious about another school's statistic. What are the daily fight or incident totals compared to the number of positive COVID cases? Because right now, protecting my child from becoming collateral damage in a violent altercation is a big priority.
That went viral, just so you know.
I fear my child has a higher chance of serious injury while walking to class, using the bathroom, or eating lunch than from COVID. Where are the consequences for those inciting or inflicting violence? Where is the protection for those just trying to get through a day unscathed? Our kids don't feel safe here. The real problem right now is not COVID. What's hurting these students the most are the policies and mandates and the refusal to offer choice or change. It's depression, anxiety, lost memories, friendships, and experiences, loneliness, violence, fear, not COVID. I've always told my kids what you allow is what will continue. What kind of parent would I be? Would we be if we didn't put action behind those words? We need to start repairing our children, and it needs to start now, tonight.
Thank you very much. Next is Jacqueline Worley.
Okay, hi, I'm Jalen Worley, and I'm a sophomore at Warren Township. As you know, the mandate was blocked on February 4th, 2022. Judge Gershow ruled that neither the government or the local school district has the authority to mask us students or exclude us from the school without a court order. It doesn't matter whether the school district was named in the case or your child was named in the lawsuit. As said, any attempted due process is illegal. Yesterday, I was sent home from school for refusing to wear a mask. My only option was to leave or put one on and go back to class. I chose to leave school and go home. Today, I returned to school and refused to wear a mask to stand up for my own rights. I was gave 3 options. I either got to go home, put a mask on, or sit in the auditorium for the whole day and work on classwork. I do not think that this is fair to students, and I don't think we should be sent home. A great variety of the students have asthma and have other breathing conditions and other medical conditions that make it harder for us students to breathe with masks on or speak in general. Now that the mandate is blocked, we shouldn't have to be required to, and it should be an option for us students. If the students are worried about getting sick, they can choose to wear masks, and that's okay. If students are not scared of COVID-19, they can choose to not wear a mask. We also have to sit every other seat at lunch. How are we even supposed to talk to our friends? It is so hard to even understand our friends when they're talking. We wouldn't have students wanting to start protests, and we wouldn't have issues if masks were optional. Even if we put it below our nose to breathe for a minute, we get sent to the office for detention or we get sent home. I don't believe this is fair, and I think that those who choose not to wear a mask should not be excluded from the other students who are required. We shouldn't be punished for not wearing a mask. We are standing up for our own rights. Us students have been affected very much by these masks, and not just by that, but the pandemic. My friend had also made a really good point. She has an extreme nut allergy, but there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. You can't stop people from bringing something you're allergic to school. You have to learn to live with it. Other people deal with things differently. If someone wants to deal with the virus the way they want to, they should have the right to an option and not be forced out to having a say in things as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Next up is Alex.
I'm Janice. I'm not here asking for your permission or considerations. I'm not here looking for your allowances of what you think you authorize for me or my family, because we are the parents, guardians, and protectors of our families and offspring. I know this to be true because instinct, society, and the laws tell me so. We are still following the laws, right? Do you actually believe that by not wearing a mask, not being vaxxed, and not testing, it's making others sick or putting them at risk? If that's the case, then by law, you need to prove that. You also need to prove that we are a public health threat and that you can lawfully treat us as such. According to the laws that you claim to follow, you don't get to treat others this way just because you think they are a threat. You must go through the proper legal channels to do so. The CDC, FDA, IDPH, ISB, all do not make laws. They create suggestions, recommendations, even requirements, but it does not change the fact that these entities do not make laws. It's the general jurisprudence that policy does not supersede laws either. For example, the Constitution guarantees equal protection under the law to all people. No state can deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, which is what you all will not be following by your segregation, testing, and masking our offspring. Illinois state law specifically says that it's unlawful for any person, public or private institution, public official, that's you, to discriminate against any person in any manner because of such person's conscientious refusal to receive, obtain, accept, perform, assist, counsel, suggest, recommend, refer, or participate in any way in any particular form of healthcare services contrary to his or her own conscience. The Bill of Rights also protects our speech, religion, and right to assemble. All of these laws correlate now because they all require our offspring to be given equal educational opportunity no matter what. You see, the government has only two jobs: protect private rights and govern by consent. You are public officials. These are your priorities as well, under the laws. The thing is, all you boards have been asked to have mercy on our offspring while you debate about a decision on mask testing and segregation, but we don't have to ask, and there shouldn't even be a debate. We, the people, aren't going to keep standing for your lawlessness. You have been put on notice.
Thank you. Alex?
My name is Alex Courtney. So how does it feel to be impacting all these people in such a negative way for their health and happiness? How does that feel for you guys? And to be breaking the law knowingly? Just letting it sink in a little bit. So I really ask you, with this current implementation of these mandates that are meaningless and don't help, what benefit do you have to keep them in place? Especially after hearing all the people that you actually listen to and help you do your jobs. I'm here because I'm a stand for this generation of kids and the next 7 generation of kids. So I ask you today, what are you doing to contribute to the next 7 generation of kids and this generation of kids?
Alex Ataya?
Good evening. I'm directing this presentation to those that are pro-mask. Who here is above the law? This is not a rhetorical question. Who here is above the law? Raise your hand. No one? School board? Administration? Some of the teachers? Well, I guess if nobody here admits that they're above the law, yet you're enforcing oppressive rules that are not supported by science or data. And the court just ruled that mask mandates is unlawful. If no one's above the law, why in the heck are we all here fighting for our children to be mask optional? The court restraining ruling is very clear. However, you chose to bastardize the interpretation of the ruling to manipulate it to oppress and harm our children by forcing them to wear masks, though it's not supported by science or data. Antioch, Lake Forest, Libertyville, Fremont, Carmel, and hundreds of other districts, and now the Archdiocese of Chicago, are mask optional. In accordance with the court order, and those districts clearly have a better understanding of the order than you do. You clearly are not leaders, and you're on the wrong side of this issue. You chose to violate the law and harm our children, so I ask why? It can't be due to fear, because a majority of you in this room traveled, attended parties, concerts, events, games, all without masks, while our children are forced to be masked. Your rhetoric about fear and safety is clearly BS. So, if it isn't fear, then why? Is it control? Is it money? Politics? Or plain stupidity? When and why did the board, administration, and some teachers stop representing the best interests of the community, the taxpayers, and more importantly, our children? When and why did you choose to serve the politicians and the unions instead? It's time you reprioritize the community, the taxpayers, and most importantly, the children, and not the unions and politicians. I demand that masks become optional effective tomorrow. As John knows, I'm prepared to file an emergency injunction against the school board in the district, and will do so And will do so if it does not become optional starting tomorrow.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate your comments. David?
David Brazina. I have a son here, sophomore at the Oak Plain campus. Everything's been said. I especially appreciate the students who spoke earlier. My son is a sophomore. He hasn't seen most of his classmates, right, without a mask on. He hasn't been able to hear them. He expresses to us, you know, he had hope on Friday when the TRO came out, and he came to my wife and I and said, you know, I don't think I'm going to have to wear my mask, you know, finally, a sigh of relief. So the hope of the students, and clearly you can hear from them directly, is in your hands. You now have the choice. Maybe you thought you didn't before. I'm not here to speak about the law. I'm not here to speak about the science. But now you have the decision, right, to make, which is, do we allow mask optional, like so many other schools in the state? I encourage you to take that seriously and think about the students. There's a picture outside there's pictures in the case outside of this wall. All those pictures in there are students with masks on. There's not a single picture that I've seen here where students don't have masks on. I can't imagine going to a prom, my prom, and not seeing people, having to be vaccinated if I didn't want to be. I can't imagine having a yearbook where most of the pictures in the book, you don't know who they are, right? It's strange to me. But at the end of it, it's your choice, right? Now it is your choice. Before, there were other excuses. There are things to look at. Today, you can make the decision. I ask that you make the decision. Previous speaker just said that starting tomorrow, you make masks optional. If you don't, my son stood up also on Monday, didn't wear a mask. He didn't wear a mask today. He doesn't plan on wearing a mask the rest of the school year. I am supporting his, his decision to civil disobedience and protest. What I don't understand, and as a parent now speaking, what are you going to do to educate him? Because to date, he's been provided nothing. So if you decide that you're not going to allow mask optional, as other schools have, then what are you going to do to educate the students who are protesting? Thank you.
Thank you, David. Appreciate your time tonight. Last one is Becky.
Hi, my name is Becky Hall-Adams. I addressed you at a school board meeting this past fall when mask optional was still on the table. I understand that you were strong-armed by the government and ISB and nobody to relieve you to step in with a case that finally was stepped in with Warren District named. You are now alleviated of imposing illegal regulations, illegal medical treatments on our children. You can allow the parents, you can allow these almost adults, and some of them are adults, to make their own medical decisions, to look at the science, to use logic, to use reasoning, and not be pawns in politics, not be pawns in receiving ESSER funds. So right now, Warren's in a position where they can continue, as they've stated over the weekend, to violate the rights of students. Except for the few that are named in the lawsuit, you will be held in contempt of court. How illogical is that? That you can continue to violate the rest of your students, and there's a couple that are protected. You guys need to make the right decision. You need to start using logic. You need to really read this ruling front to back and not default to your lawyers to tell you what to do. You need to search in your heart. You need to understand that masking has unintentional consequences. We have no idea how great those consequences are going to become. My child has already been hospitalized for depression. He's going to be going into psychology and will have plenty of work after all of this. Let's not give him even more than he can handle. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time out tonight. So there's nobody else who has signed up to speak in front of the board right now. It does not prevent you from and your name is? I must have skipped you accidentally. Kim, podium is all yours. Sorry about that.
Good evening. I do have a son here at Warren. He's a junior. I cannot actually even believe that we are standing here today having to do this, and I've never thought in my wildest dreams that we would be fighting for our kids' rights as the Constitution allows. On February 4th, Judge Grishow granted a TRO for the plaintiffs in the listed districts. However, in her ruling on page 28, she specifically and clearly states that the governor's mandates are null and void, meaning there is no executive order. This is what your every response to parents has been in your emails, using this as an excuse to keep up your masking on our kids. You're ignoring her ruling, so you are willfully, knowingly acting in an illegal manner. You risk thousands of civil lawsuits by doing this. We the people actually never needed an attorney, judge, or even the Supreme Court to tell us that we don't have to mask, test, or quarantine our kids. We have the rights under the Constitution, both U.S. and state, to protect us. The governor's so-called order has no legal, enforceable mechanism whatsoever. Not to the school or to our kids. Not to you guys. You guys have no threat against you by ISB. They cannot cut your funding. And even if they tried, it would take years for them to get through it. There are 178 districts in this case, and almost all of them chose to go mask optional. Do you really think ISB is going to go after all of them? I don't think so. How many districts do you know that have a mask optional policy throughout this last 2 years that have had a single surge in cases versus those who have a actual mask rule? None. The governor has been bullying us as parents, our kids, and our school districts through this whole time. Exactly what are you going to keep doing to our kids who keep coming to school without masks? You're going to keep chasing them down the hall? You're going to keep suspending them? You're going to keep giving them detentions? Don't you guys have better things to do? It is not now, nor has it ever been, our kids' responsibility to protect other kids or teachers, staff, etc. No one bears that burden. I am also quite sure that certain, not all staff, that is wanting to keep enforcing this masks spends a great amount of time outside of the school in public places with friends, maskless, as do our kids. This is what makes this so hypocritical. Masking, isolation, exclusion from school are all forms of quarantine. The judge reiterates that in her ruling. I have a copy if you guys need to see it. The burden of proof is on you. Our kids have a right to due process under the law. I will no longer answer any calls from the school about my kid being in close contact. I'm not consenting. So since we don't have to consent, it is up to you to get the health department to get a court order. And you must prove that they are a health risk. The law is on our side. This ends now. We have never run around doing this for the flu or anything else. This madness must end. We are going on 3 years that our kids have been robbed of events, seeing faces, and having a normal life. Living in a mask is not normal. I have a copy of the law that states that you may not prevent interference with the child's attendance at school, as well I will be handing to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kim.
Got it?
Now we are done with everybody in the book. Sorry about that, Kim.
No worries, thank you.
There will be an opportunity later in the meeting to address the board. At this point, we need to continue on with our regular scheduled agenda. But there is time at the end of the meeting for more comments. At this point, next up on the agenda is a board discussion of visitor comment items. Does anybody in the board like to talk about anything that was just discussed? Because I have a question for Dr. Algram, really, is if you could just give us a brief summary of the legal opinion we were given by our lawyers over the weekend based on this ruling.
I sure will, and I want to thank everybody for your comments tonight, especially somebody mentioned earlier, especially our students for coming out and talking tonight. And all of this has been incredible hard years on our youth that, you know, we've all felt. We felt them at homes, we felt them at school, and we wish all of our kids hadn't had to go on through the last couple years. As we approach this, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not at all. I've talked with a lot of people who have done a lot of law background. When we get legal cases, we certainly, all school districts do, count on the advice of our legal counsel to give us advice on legal cases. People who attended the court case and are experts in education law and in law were at the hearings, and obviously those are people that give us advice. So back on when the case on February 4th, when the case in Judge Grishow issued a temporary restraining order in that pending litigation in Sangamon County, it did name our defendant as a district. Immediately and in an ongoing way, our take on this is there's a lot of information out there. Who do we listen to in these cases? From the
Let him finish. We let you finish.
Yeah.
Let him finish.
I'm just trying to give a little history for everybody, a little context. And all of the information that we got on the Saturday, the 5th of February, was very clear direction from our legal counsel regarding the case. That's why we sent out the communication on Sunday that we did. And the essence of it was that the order only applied to the parties in the lawsuit, and we should continue to follow and implement our safe return to school plan. Aside from the parties in the lawsuit, we'll continue to enforce the requirements relating to masks and school exclusion for close contacts. There's a mask mandate that has been in place since, we would all agree, way too long just because of COVID. But there has been a mask mandate that's been in place for all K-12 schools now for a long time. And so I know we're all tired of masks, but we have an obligation to at least acknowledge that. And when we were talking to our legal counsel about that, they were saying, well, there's also, because there is a mask mandate, and we're getting legal direction that you should continue to follow that mask mandate for the rest of your students in our school, because some students would expect that mask mandate to be in place. Point being is that immediately after that meeting, we sent a communication out on Sunday. We tried to clarify for people where we are at, and that's still where we're at. And I know the comments about ISB and whether or not that's important or not, but we are not our own local entity that gives ourselves, even the power to give kids diplomas, right? All of us are part of the Illinois State Board of Education that's had this mask mandate on. Whether people like it or not, it's the reality. And some districts, I know now, there have been some questions about, in the School Board Association, the State Board of Ed, always their response is in this question, you follow the guidance of your legal counsel on this issue. That's what they've told us. So,
sir, no. Sir.
Excuse me. We gave you the courtesy to speak. You'll have your time.
You can be removed. Just let him finish.
And I can also put it this way. There are people who have done...
Take your mask off.
So I also want to make people aware that things do happen. We are a member of the Illinois State Board of Education. All local school boards are a member of the Illinois State Board of Education. We do have obligations to follow their regulations. Absolutely, we do. And when I called to ISB about what should we do, they said, follow your legal counsel advice. A few years ago, or I guess it was only last year now in the fall, time's a mess, but a few years ago, there were schools that decided at that point in time to try to go mask optional. And I don't know if people remember that or not, but there was a little bit in the news about what happened after the fact. They said, well, we have a mask mandate on at this time, and you're not following it. You're no longer accredited by the state. You're no longer can play in IHSA sports. I don't know if people remember that situation happening. It was real. And people then said, no, we're going to wear masks because we know how important it is to get accredited by ISB. So we can't ignore our relationship to ISB by any means. We're not an independent operator. When ISB says follow your local guidance, that's what we're doing.
How does that affect IHSA now?
It may.
Three options. You guys made a choice. You chose what the three options were. Every school is a legal.
Excuse me.
There were a number of other schools, a number of people there. The letter that.
This is not a place for you to argue with us. It is not.
You guys have not.
We listen to you. Now you have to listen to us. It's part of the deal.
You chose one of the three options. It was not the option that you guys all see that other schools are making other options.
Shut up,
It's
wasn't
no
clear.
longer an IHSA, it is thing. Because all of our schools.
Carmel just lifted theirs tonight.
So you guys have the choice to make it to get our kids out of it.
Pause or take a break.
Well, let's just try to make.
You're out of here in a year. Hey, let's get somebody else.
No.
Buddy,
No.
okay? Because
No.
this is going to get out of hand.
No,
so
it's
we all
already
need
got
to
out
get
of
a point
hand.
across.
Freddie,
all right?
Excuse me, Alex, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but no. Well, Alex, I appreciate what you're trying to do.
All right. Well, I'm going to just make a point. The court found that J.B. Pritzker's mandate null and void. So that means, though Dr. Algrim is referring to the mandate existing, it does not exist anymore. Because that, per the court, is null and void, irrelevant of the schools. The mandate period is null and void. So you do not have to abide by it.
I appreciate your comments, but that's contrary to what our legal counsel has told us.
I think you need to find better legal counsel.
Continue on. That's enough.
Anything else you want to add, Dr. Algrim?
That's enough. He's done. Just have to move on, man. That's all we can do.
Next up on the agenda is the president's report. Due to time constraints, I'm going to save my topics for the next board meeting. Next up are committee reports.
I know how kids feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can go into committee reports. I'll have Pat report out on that, and then we'll get into it. Is that what what are we doing? Mr. Dr. Keeley? Dr. Keeley, can you please update the board on the Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee that was held on January 25th?
If people would be a little more quiet, people could hear. Go ahead.
Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee met for our first meeting. The meeting talked about general things that we look to change, or if we got any advice from the IPA or any other agencies for suggested changes. Now the group will break off into a number of different subcommittees to look at different sections of that particular handbook, and then those committees will form recommendations for the Board of Education, and I believe it'll be April when we come back. April will come back to the board with formal recommendations from all the subcommittees in all different areas of the handbook. Any questions?
Nope, thank you.
Next, we have the superintendent's report, and we're going to have our fine arts and business reports. Those are going to be in board docs later for the board to peruse at your leisure. So we've got those reports going on, as well as the athletics and activity department report. We'll put those in board docs like we did a few meetings ago in regards to having board access to that. And after that, I think we are on to the consent agenda.
Do we have any other changes to the consent agenda?
Nope.
I need a motion.
Second.
No, I need somebody to make the motion.
Hang on.
changed a little bit, so we moved out,
Tom, what did we move out?
D.
Just the minutes.
Okay, so I move to approve the consent agenda items as presented, which includes Exhibit A, personnel recommendations number 78 through 81 as posted. Exhibit B, athletics and activities recommendation numbers 25B through 28B as posted. The payment of bills for February 8th, 2022 in the amount of $925.96. And not the minutes. January 18th, and then keep the executive session minutes closed for July 20th, 2021, August 17th, 2021, September 14th, 2021, September 28th, 2021, October 26th, 2021, November 8th, 2021, November 9th, 2021, December 2nd, 2021, and December 21st, 2021. And approve the resolution authorizing the destruction of certain verbatim recordings as presented, and the second reading and approval of the district board policies as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Anderson and second by Drake. Mr. DeMonte.
Yes.
Mrs. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Beals.
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Drake.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
I move to approve the regular meeting minutes and executive session minutes of January 18th, 2022.
Second. Roll call.
Motion by Anderson and second by Schultz. Mrs. Martinez.
Yes.
Mr. Drake. Mr. DeMonte.
Yes.
Mrs. Beals. Mrs. Blair.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
And Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
I have 7 yes, 6 yes, 1 abstention. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next up is new business.
The first item is just an approval of a settlement agreement and general release of student 2022-01 for the board's consideration.
And no questions on the settlement? If not, I move to approve the settlement agreement and general release for student 2022-1.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz and second by Drake. Mrs. Beals.
Yes.
Mrs. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. DeMonte.
Yes.
Mr. Drake. Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Our next item is an intergovernmental agreement. Dr. Engel, please come forward and present to the board.
Good evening. Tonight we have the intergovernmental agreement obtaining for the fuel for the bus fleet that we have that require regular gasoline. We're asking the Board of Education to approve an extension with the intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Gurnee. This would be for 1 additional year, effective immediately. Any questions?
Any questions? If not, I move to approve the intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Gurnee for regular gasoline effective immediately.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz and second by Martinez. Mr. DeMonte.
Yes.
Mrs. Beals.
Yes.
Mr. Drake.
Yes.
Mrs. Blair.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dr. Engel.
The next item is the approval of the transportation driver pay for the 22-23 school year. Attached is a breakdown of each driver, the total increases, and everything that go along with it. We're looking at starting drivers at $22.25 an hour. As you can see, it's very similar to what we did last year. We did a general 3% overlay, kind of stayed within there, but then in order to bring up the starting pay to $22.25 an hour, We had to add an additional $37,000 to the budget. This will help us be a little bit more competitive to keep and maintain our bus driving fleet, and also allowed us to start the van driver pay at $18 an hour as well. Any questions?
I move to approve the transportation bus driver compensation for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz and second by Beals. Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. DeMonte,
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Drake,
Yes.
Mrs. Blair, Mrs. Beals,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Love. Next up is old business with a return to school update.
I think we've covered those points just in regards to where we're at. So
Thank.
we can move on to the next item. Referendum
Update.
Yeah, it's usually how we just get into the conversation. So just as a reminder, we are expecting a couple of meetings tomorrow. I think in the morning we actually have a remote meeting with the Greater Warren Women's Business Association in the morning. So there's a Zoom meeting that Kathy Blair was nice enough to facilitate for us. And then tomorrow evening here, we're hosting a few presentations at 6:30 for the English presentation and 7:30 for the Spanish presentation. So thanks to everybody who's been helping to communicate those meetings. This one for tomorrow night, as well as all of our series of meetings, to make sure people are well aware of that situation. And we also have, I think we're going to be at the Warren Township Senior Center on Friday, just to have a little meet and greet with the seniors over there and provide information for them. Remember, we do have a February 23rd presentation at the Warren Newport Public Library. And then we also have, if you get a chance to look at our website, we've moved some things, updated some information for board members. So certainly if you get a chance to look at the referendum pages on our website, that would be helpful. And we're going to, at the end of this week or early next week, we are going to file the referendum question at the Lake County Clerk's office, and then we'll post those questions formally at each one of our campuses and the district office, which is a requirement in regards to the referendum itself. Any other board members have
Anything else? Anything else to add? No. Okay. Next up.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
So we got, the next thing on the agenda, everybody, is going to be the next reception of visitors. And we certainly would be happy to have you guys talk to us some more if you would like to. I think it's obvious at this point that we are not prepared to change our policy. We didn't come here with that information. We have to take what you're saying. Just give me a minute, people. Come on. We're gonna get through this. And all I'm saying is we're not gonna get it done. We heard you. We hear you. Yeah, we did listen. We're not here to take a vote tonight. So, no. Okay. All right. Doesn't matter to me.
Yes. You're very welcome.
So as you know, my name is Veronica Kretz.
No.
I have yes. We are all very passionate about this.
Understand that.
And we are trying to be as respectful as possible. We are trying, okay? You have to understand, you guys sit behind a table during this. You are not in the trenches every single day with us as parents, with our children, in the school day. You sit behind a desk. I am a school teacher. I understand that. I understand what these teachers are going through. I understand when a student is crying because they have to sit 6 feet away from somebody and they can't hear me because they are 30 feet in the back of my classroom. They can't hear me educate them. This is so unfair at this point. And you, sir, you can be a leader in all of this and not a follower. We are begging you, we are imploring you, please be the leader of Warren. Follow what the Warren way stands for and quit discriminating and segregating and separating these children. They are our future leaders, and what are we teaching them? They are going to be in fear. They have such disdain for authority right now. I have a child who's on the football team and a leader on the football team, but when he steps out into the classroom, he has to put his mask up because he doesn't want to get in trouble, because that's what I taught him. What kind of leaders are we growing today when all we're doing is instilling fear in them? Show them that you can be the leader, and go to the lawyers then and say, we have to find other options, because there are other options out there. And you as the board, you may not be prepared today, but then I ask you, why not? This has been going on for almost 2 years now. My daughter graduated in 2020. She missed her prom. She almost missed graduation. She had a horrible end to her senior year of memorable moments. Things that she has dreamed about since she was a kid. And the seniors this year are going to have that same problem, or worse. Why? Why can't you make that emergency vote tonight? Please, be the leaders of what Warren stands for.
Going on 3 years, you guys. 3 years, our kids have been taking away all this stuff. Why can't you be prepared? There are over 200 school districts in the state that have made the decision to go mask optional. They're not afraid of ISB. ISB's not coming after you. They're not going to cut your funding. I've had long discussions with my attorney about this, and he assures me that they won't. You guys got to stop being afraid, if that's what it is. You got to step up for our kids. That's what the job you guys were put here to do, is to take care of our kids. We voted you in to do that job. And as far as prom goes, you guys are going to seriously take it away from half of the student body? Are you kidding me? Figure it out. You guys got to find another way, or else make a negotiation. And again, to reiterate the mask thing, these kids should not be masked up at going on 3 years. We're all over it. People would be dropping dead left and right if the masks actually didn't help, okay, or do help. If they actually worked, nobody would be getting this. If you guys have them strapped on and have 2 and 3 masks strapped on, nobody would be getting this virus, but they are. So really, look at the data. Your mask openings are 80 microns wide. The virus is 1. Do the math. Come on, you guys. Work for our kids. Work for us. Do what's right. You guys know what's right. I know you do. You know what's right. Thank you.
I will take 2 seconds. 2 seconds. I've talked to a doctor before in the summer with my husband. I am a nurse. My husband is an ER doctor for 25 years, board certified. Thank you. Okay? We've been through this pandemic together, working on the front lines. We are heroes, apparently. My husband has been taking notes through the whole thing, documenting to make sure we are going by our experiences, what we're seeing in the healthcare field. It seems like my opinion doesn't really matter these days, though. I'm just labeled as a flat earther and a conspiracy theorist. But I can tell you this. Go home tonight, make a fire. Stand in front of the fire. Let the smoke come through your mask. The smoke particle is 470 nanometers. Nanometers are so tiny you can't see them unless you are looking through an electron microscope. The virus itself is 120 nanometers. If you can breathe smoke through your mask, the virus is coming through. The only way we are truly protected, mostly protected,
is through a properly fitted N95 mask. I worked in the ER for a long time. We worked with tuberculosis patients, right? TB, bacterium that's larger than the virus. I had to be fit tested every year by other professionals to make sure I could not breathe the scent that was coming through the mask. I had true protection around my face. I was therefore able to treat tuberculosis patients. Okay? That is a properly fitted medical mask. That is going to provide more protection than what we're wearing on our faces tonight. So if you don't believe me, if you need proof, go stand by a fire and breathe. You are breathing in the virus. What we are doing is madness.
I assume this is the public comment time? Okay.
Correct.
I'm going to change gears a little bit, but it's sort of related to. So first, I want to thank all the attendees for showing up and actually expressing what they have to express. And this will relate to what I have to say. And I want to thank the board actually for having this open meeting. This is a challenge to have everybody sort of express what they feel and talk at you, and some of the things aren't so nice. I'm actually a board member in Lindenhurst at Milburn, and my name's Peter Petterini, and I wanted to introduce myself to you. I'm running for the House of Representatives for Illinois, and I picked the right night to come here. Yeah. So this is largely my introduction to you. I'm going to all the different board meetings. This is certainly a hot topic. Like I said, I'm a board member as well. I'm also a school teacher in Round Lake at the high school. We're struggling with the same issues. But I just wanted to let you know I'm running for District 61. That encompasses this chunk of Gurnee, Lindenhurst. I'm actually running against Joyce Mason, who has been in office for a while now, and I feel like maybe some of her promises haven't been lived up to. I'm a conservative voice. I'm married, damn good looking. Got a dog, I got a kid, got a decent sense of humor. I'm pretty active in the community, and I wanted to meet you people, and I wanted to pass around my petition. I don't know if anyone here is aware, but when you run for the House of Representatives, you need 400 signatures to get onto the ballot. It doesn't mean you have to vote for me. It doesn't mean you have to agree with me. If you do, that's wonderful. If not, that's okay too. But like I said, conservative, Catholic, go to church, believe in God, protect our kids, and that's about it. Peter Petterini, thank you for your time. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Peter. Go ahead. Is it David?
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Just very quickly. So at this point in time, the students are emboldened. I think you're going to see more students who protest. There is no plan in place that I see today to educate those students. That is a requirement. So regardless of what we do, inaction, right, is not a solution here. So sooner or later, there are a number of people here tonight, someone's going to file a lawsuit, right? So there's that very possibility that will cost money. More students will protest, then you have a different problem on your hands, also causing more problems and disruptions in learning. So I encourage you to try to make a decision as fast as possible, because those two things are very real options that are going to happen. We can't be here in another week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks with people still saying, well, we're not sure, the lawyer says. I don't think that's an option any longer. So just wanted to share that.
Agree completely.
Excuse me if I may, but as a student, we are advised every single day to follow the Warren Way instructions. For those of you that don't know, the Warren Way stands for We Are Respectful, Resilient, Engaged, Now and Always. Now, let's start with the very first word, we. There is no we, I'm sorry, but us being divided into multiple groups, how does that make us all one? We need to stick together. Now, respectful. I'm sorry, but how are we supposed to be respectful when we aren't respected? Resilience. To bounce back. That is something we are completely missing, obviously, because we are still in masks. When there are so many other states and schools and workplaces that have been maskless this entire time, and we are still living in fearful shadows. How is that being resilient? How is that bouncing back and being strong and courageous and sticking together to all fight this virus that you guys call at the same time? This has been extended for way too long and for absolutely no reason. And how are we supposed to be engaged in classrooms when our teacher can't hear us when we ask a question, or when we can't hear our teacher when they try to answer? I am a pretty good student, so I am put in the back because the worst students are put in the front. So that is not only making it worse for me, but it is also dropping my grades in my GPA for absolutely no reason. Thank you.
Alex. Go ahead, Alex.
At this very moment, you have an opportunity to correct a wrong. You are harming our children. So I ask you, what is your character? Who are you as a person, and who you are as a person is in question at this very moment. Will you choose to continue to harm our kids and follow a null and void mandate that is unlawful, or will you choose to correct your wrong for the safety and best interests of our children? It's better to vote now, as you're hearing from all of the community, or the community here, or you're going to spend thousands of dollars defending your wrong against this community. Because I will file the injunction against you. So that will happen.
I just want to ask one question. If not today, when? If not today, when? There is no metric that we are going to reach that you will be able to say today's the day. So if what everyone has said today has not mattered, hasn't gone into your heart, if you're not parents yourselves, if you don't have children, if you don't see them hurting, I have my own, but I also have a lot of my own kids at school. And I see the pain. So if not today, when?
I'm a senior at Warren, Trenton Grohovac. I, from the past 2 years, junior year to senior year, I don't even know my teachers' names. I don't know what they look like. I couldn't tell you any of my teachers' names this semester. I think it's not fair to us to have to wear masks if we and ourselves don't think it's right. I go out in public, I don't wear one. It's a public school, right? Yeah, I don't wear one outside. Another thing is the students here. A lot of people deal with depression, anxiety, all sorts of stuff like that, and wearing masks doesn't help. We can't show our true selves, we can't show our emotions, and a lot of school and growing up in this environment is about emotion. You get to know people, you get relationships, you have friendships, anything, and you can't have any of that with no facial expressions. Like someone said, like just a smile one day could make your whole day way better. And with all this going around, mental side effects, physical side effects, I don't think it's very good. So I think you should change it and vote on it tonight, because it's kind of bullshit.
It's gonna be really short and sweet, really quick. I gotta commend the kids that spoke. I mean, the kids that come up here as 14, 15-year-olds have shown the courage you have shown to come up here and speak up for yourselves. More courageous than most of the adults in this room, and that is to be commended. Your parents should be extremely proud of you. Please know that what you are doing matters. This matters, okay? For those of you that a lot of you are on your phones, breaking news, supposedly Pritzker is dropping the indoor mask mandate tomorrow, except for schools. Hold on. Hold on. So I just, as we're all here, I want to point that out. And another really quick, to bring this home for 2 seconds. We are sitting here masked. Well, I'm not, because I don't follow a single totalitarian rule. We are, seriously, you are sitting here masked because one man has said so. One man has told you have to wear that mask. Under guidance, whatever he wants to say, and the legalese, we've had a nurse up here. I respect that nurse who spoke more than I respect anybody from the governor's office. But we're sitting here with masks on because one man in a governor's mansion says we have to. Let that sink in. Go back to high school. Go back to your high school classrooms, your college classrooms, and a lot of other education I'm sure you've had, and think about how legislation is supposed to work. One man has ruled on executive order for 2 years affecting hundreds of thousands of children. Please, just a perspective where we're at. Another perspective real quick, I found it somewhat comical, not comical, when we were kind of talking and there was all this ruckus in the back. Last time I checked the Meetings Act, you have to make all comments public unless you're in executive session. I could be wrong, I'm not sure. One of the members here, I won't, out of respect, I won't point them out, literally grabbed his mask, pulled it down to talk to someone next to him.
That would be me.
So for two years, you have asked our children to communicate and learn and socialize with that thing on you and hey, bravo to you, I appreciate it. With that thing on your face. But you have got no problem asking our kids to not follow that same rule. Really quick, I know there's Meetings Act. I've been in law enforcement for 20 years. I just retired. Another tip, I've seen a lot of bad advice from lawyers. A lot of bad advice. And what I do know is when a lawyer says, hey, you should probably plead guilty, guess what the defendant can say? Nah, I want to plead not guilty. You have the option. Please don't stand behind a lawyer. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. You may think that doesn't apply to you, and that's fair. Collectively, as a group, you may think that this does not apply to us. Do not use lawyers as scapegoats. We are way too smart to realize that the lawyer is not your God and Savior. You have a choice. Really quick question. This is not back and forth. I get it. Quick question about Meetings Act. Do you, in theory, have the option to raise a motion to vote to lift the mask mandate in this school right now? Just real quick, yes or no? Oh, no, I know. Listen, we're not experts on the Meeting Act and school board meetings. Can someone please just answer that question real quick? Yes.
I think it's possible. We'd have to make a motion to add a motion and add the motion.
I know, Roberts. Hold on. Hold on. Can I still speak real quick? I get Robert's rules. I've been down this road. I've been a union member for 20 years, like I said. And the union thing's a whole other issue.
Second. What? Go ahead, John. John.
Couldn't add that to the agenda at this point in time.
That's why I'm asking. Is it even possible?
Talking about it, yeah.
What's that? No action. Yeah, nothing of action could be added to the meeting. You can discuss anything you want.
Okay.
But we can't take a vote that's on the agenda.
Because it's an action item, it has to be part of the agenda before the meeting. So we can't add it at this point.
And I get there's rules.
Yeah, that's the rule. That's the state law.
Okay, so like any good prosecution, I got a follow-up question.
Sure you do.
When is the soonest you can legally vote on this? I mean, from your perspective, when can you vote on this?
48 hours. I think we need 48 hours to post it.
You think?
48 hours.
You're not sure?
I just want to make
possibly 48 hours.
I don't know.
That's
again.
Definitely we could do it in 48 hours.
Okay.
Definitely.
So I know we're not gonna have one of these big old meetings. As a request, I can't file a motion. I can't have it seconded. I get it. I would implore you, please. I understand there's a supposedly an injunction being filed tomorrow. We all know that same lawyer that gave you advice is probably the same lawyer that's going to take your money and defend you. Please, I implore you, at your earliest legal ability, to rethink this vote and realize you are not beholden to a lawyer.
Thank you.
So first of all, I was not planning on speaking tonight, but I couldn't sit back and listen anymore. I teach over at the primary building. I've been a teacher there for 17 years, so I am a union member. And I sit here listening to all these other parents and teachers standing up here telling you we're not okay with the mask anymore. Yet our union over and over again sends out bulletins and alerts saying we're standing up for teachers, we're fighting for your rights. Not for mine, not for all the other teachers. No one's asked us. So if you're sitting here afraid of the union of your teachers, think about how many parents, how many teachers are in this room right now? How many more are sitting in their classrooms afraid to speak up? Day 4 of kindergarten this year, I had a 5-year-old walk up to me and ask where their teacher was. I was their teacher. Day 4, they couldn't recognize their teacher because they hadn't seen me unmasked. My freshman here hates school. She was a straight A student. My sophomore, 2 years he's been here, not made one friend from Gurney grade. He only knows his Woodland peeps. So if you are afraid of the union and that's what's holding you back, ask your teachers. Ask all your parents that are teachers. Our union is not speaking for us. They are bullying our children. They are bullying the school districts. My kids are more important than any adult teacher. So if I hear from one more adult, they're worried about their safety, take a medical leave. Okay? When a teacher, and I have great friends that have had cancer, when they get cancer, they take a medical leave because they're immunocompromised. They can't be around 40 kids, 20 kids, 60 kids, depending how many. So if you have a condition that makes this virus risky to you, take a leave. Because my kids can't get their life back. It's the same thing I told my parents. If you're uncomfortable being around my unvaccinated child, fine. They're more important than the adults.
Okay, so I just have a question. What's going to happen when I go to school tomorrow and refuse to wear a mask? Like, Austin, are you wondering the same question? Like, what's going to happen when we go to school tomorrow and refuse? No, I actually got marked absent today, even though I was sitting at school in the auditorium doing my work. And my mom got told that my grades are going to go down 10% for every 7 or 8 days that I miss a school. At school, doing my work in the auditorium. Like, am I gonna keep being segregated from all the other kids that are still choosing to wear a mask? Like, am I gonna be kept away from socializing with my friends and have to sit in the auditorium for the whole school day with the other kids that are in there? And marked absent, and we're told to sit like one in the top, one in the bottom, one in the top on the other side, one in the bottom on the other side. Yeah. So what's going to happen tomorrow?
What is going to happen tomorrow with my daughter?
Yeah, I know.
When she follows her beliefs.
Go ahead, read it out loud then.
Will she be
We'll
marked
wait.
absent? No. She has been for 2 days. Marked absent. In school, willing to learn, and has been marked absent. So what is going to happen tomorrow?
Same with Austin over there, right there. I see you. Yep, right there.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You'll find out.
Yeah.
Mr. Superintendent?
Are we marking them absent? Is that true?
It does. Sir, the one who pulled his mask out earlier, it's fine for you to say, we had no idea that this was going to take place.
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
All the other schools who've been going through this, what did you expect?
It's fine.
That we're just all going to sit back and twiddle our thumbs?
I didn't say that. All right. Okay, time out.
Okay, we're going to try and bring this back down again.
Okay.
We're going to welcome people to speak. Keep it short. I appreciate all the students that go up there to speak. Like the gentleman said before, I admire the fact that you want to come up here and say something. I don't want to get it to the point where people are coming up to speak just to talk to their peers so they can get some applause. If you have something you'd like to address us with, that'd be great.
Bro, what? We ain't doing this for satisfaction of others, bro. We're doing this for ourselves. We ain't doing this for other people.
The only way change is gonna happen is with us. Either something's gonna happen tomorrow. You're gonna have to forcibly remove me from school.
One at a time. Go ahead.
All right, so tomorrow, if I show up without a mask and I refuse to go home, you're gonna have to forcibly remove me from school. I'm willing to get arrested to get removed from school, and I'd like to see what happens to you guys when that happens. I'd like to see the press, especially with the referendum. You guys don't want press around here, do you? No. And I don't know, we as students have gotten a group together who have the same views and refuse to wear a mask. We have over 1,000 views on where we're gonna show up tomorrow without a mask. So you're gonna have hundreds of students tomorrow showing up to school refusing to wear a mask. So I'm gonna ask you, what's gonna happen tomorrow when hundreds of your students show up tomorrow without a mask? And they will refuse to wear a mask for the rest of the school year. I ask you, what's gonna happen? You're just gonna take away from our education? What are you guys gonna do?
I got this. They don't got an answer. There is so much violence, gang-related or not, in and around this school, and y'all were worried about safety from a mask. A piece of cotton around my mouth ain't doing nothing, protecting me from fights and violence. How about you guys start worrying about the real problems before you start worrying about a stupid piece of cotton that's hanging by a thread by my ear? Nobody wears that stuff anyways. Like, nobody does. And if you do, that's your choice. Nobody likes wearing them. Nobody does. But worry about the real problems before you start worrying about a stupid piece of cotton that nobody likes. Like shit, bro.
If this is actually about COVID and not politics and money related, I'd invite all of you to walk around the hallways of school and see how many kids are properly wearing a mask, let alone an N95. So, I believe masks aren't effective if you wear them below your chin or below your nose. I can bet more than probably 50% of kids don't walk around here with masks on correctly. Or social distance. But yet, COVID disappears in the lunchroom, though. So I was told, I was volunteering yesterday for a fundraiser for a club we have here, and I was told that I was not helping and that I had to go eat in the lunchroom 10 feet away from where I was standing. What, does COVID disappear in the lunchroom? I mean, what's the difference between if we're in the lunchroom and in the classroom without a mask on? That's what I ask. Why can you not remove the masks?
I just want to let you guys know, I only have one thing to say. I will not be showing up to school the rest of the school year with a mask on. I will not wear a mask the rest of the school year. So.
I have one more thing to say as well. What are you going to do when there's a bunch of kids protesting and screaming like at the doors tomorrow? Because I know that that's a plan, and I know that kids are planning to come protest here tomorrow in the morning, and I know that they're all going to be screaming. What's going to happen?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I haven't worn a mask properly to school, like, ever. I haven't got COVID a single time. So what are the masks really doing? Nothing. Because if I'm not getting COVID and I'm not wearing a mask, like, it's not protecting me from anything. Is it? No. So what's the point of the mask if it's not even doing anything?
Go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to say one thing. I've been unmasked this entire year. I'm also unvaccinated. And I have had COVID one time, and that was in July. I haven't been sick this entire year. I missed one school day, and that was due to an appointment. So I'm just saying masks aren't effective. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Go ahead, Alex.
I just want to clarify, you said the soonest you guys can vote on this is 48 hours, is that correct?
Yes.
So will you be meeting and voting on this in 48 hours?
I think we should.
Why do you keep shaking your head no when everybody else is saying yes?
We can. We can meet in 48 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Certainly can.
As a board? Oh. Is there a reason you can't do it now?
Yes.
What is, if you could explain, please explain the reason.
Can't add an action item to the agenda at a meeting like this because it has to be posted beforehand so that people who want to know about it know it's happening and they can come. That's part of the rules of having a meeting.
state law.
So that's the rule.
Law.
It's unfortunate I'm not as familiar with the Open Meetings
Well,
Act.
you can
but
check it out. We're not trying to make
I'm
this
not
up.
questioning you.
Believe me. Believe
Okay.
me.
Well, you've got a good composition of the community here.
Understood.
And I think anybody that knows what's going on with schools and COVID and masks knows to be coming to this meeting tonight. And I know it's all over social media. So people know that this is a discussion tonight. It may not be on the board agenda, but people know this is a discussion tonight. And I think it would do everybody well if a vote was done tonight. It really would, because kids, the students, have questions as to what's going to happen to them that you guys can't answer when they come to school tomorrow. You're now made aware that there's going to be walkouts and protests tomorrow here at the school. You're now well aware that there might be media here at the school as a result of that. You have parents here that have taken time out of their schedules to attend this meeting to get a decision made. And I think for the board's interest, for the school's interest, for the district's interest, for the community's interest, and most importantly for the students' interest, I think it'd be advisable to have a vote tonight.
We're not allowed to, though.
Okay.
No, we can't. No, we cannot. No.
That would give the opposing side time to get here. Social media, it's out there. Why can't you have the emergency meeting tomorrow night?
We talked about, he said we've already talked about it, he had said that. He said he was on the agenda.
Call the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I was just informed that the return to safe school was already on the agenda. Isn't that part of this?
There was no vote. There was no action.
There was no
associated.
action item, though. It was a discussion point.
There was no action item.
I understand there was no action, but it's on the agenda. And from what we were told, it only has to be on the agenda.
No, it has to be an action item on the agenda. We can't add an action item. I know it sounds like a silly detail, but that's the rule.
It sounds like government bureaucracy. But I understand that.
We are
I
part of
understand
the
that's what
government.
you're saying.
That's what it is.
Yep.
All right, hang on.
Yep, so it's already there, so let's discuss it.
Under the old school?
Yep.
Old business?
Return to school update.
So there's, under old business, it's item A, return to school update. Is that an action item?
No.
Okay.
No. It's not.
It's on the agenda. It's not an action item.
So,
We can't make it in 24 hours. We have to make it in 48 hours.
Why?
Because that's the rules we have to go by. That's
yep. I think you can make an executive decision, kind of like, well, I refer to him as Jelly Belly, but J.B. Pritzker has. I think you can make an executive decision tonight to temporarily allow mask optional until you have a formal vote within 48 hours.
No, we cannot.
Nope.
No.
There's a,
No.
yeah, there.
Okay.
All right,
Okay. So we need to keep moving along. If
I
you could
understand. So
wrap it
within
up,
48,
Alex.
so everybody clearly understands, 48 hours, that's as soon as you can have the meeting.
Correct.
An announcement will be made. An open meeting like this will be held.
Yes.
It'll have to be.
So we'll have an open meeting, what time, in 48 hours? So it's Tuesday, so you're saying Thursday.
Correct.
So Thursday evening, what time?
9:30?
You'd have to have that meeting at 9:30 at night. You need 48 hours.
So it'd have to be at night.
Maybe Friday.
Thursday evening, there'll be another meeting at 9:30 in the evening, because it has to be 48 hours, all right, to vote on mask optional. All right?
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
During the meeting.
So hold on. Next up on the agenda is the board's discussions, visitor comments. And I'd just like to say a few things. Once again, to every student, right side, left side, who spoke in front of us tonight, my hat's off to you. When I was your age, I don't think I would have been strong enough to do that. So I applaud you. I truly applaud you. So I just want to address some of the comments were made, that we need to get out from behind the desk here and be parents and part of the community, I'm looking around, we are parents. We do see things the same way you do. We just happen to be on the board. You can laugh, you can snicker, we're living with the same things you are. Doesn't mean we like them, but we're living with this just as much as you are. You said, somebody made the comment, what you say doesn't matter. I can't say what my first comment was, but yeah, everything you say matters. It truly matters. Whether we agree with it or we don't agree with it, it matters. We do listen to you. You may not think we do. We listen to every comment and we take it to heart. And when I say I appreciate your comments to each one of you, I truly appreciate your comments and the time you took to come out here tonight. The comment was made that we need to be leaders and not to be afraid to step up. Yeah, I'd say we are being leaders right now. We're not afraid to step up. Sometimes being a leader is doing what we think is the best for the school, not what the loudest voice in the crowd says, but what we feel is best.
It's all the same voice.
So, excuse me, you all got your chance to talk.
Let it talk.
Sometimes being a leader is making an unpopular decision. Sometimes our hands are tied. We have to go by certain guidelines, which may not be known to everyone. But I want to let each and every one of you know we do listen to you. We appreciate your comments. And we're living through this mask society as much as you are. And I tell you personally, I can't wait for the day where I take the mask off everywhere I go. With that being said, does anybody else on the board have something to say? If nothing else, I move to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz and second by Anderson. Mrs. Blair?
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. DeMonte? Mrs. Beals?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.